Dodd Street Gang is a Mexican gang from Mira, Loma, California. In the news, 2 reported members of a Mira Loma street gang charged in the 2006 shooting death of a man are due in court this morning. David Ruben Uribe and Nathan Lee Lucero are charged with murder with special circumstances in the February 2006 shooting of Mira Loma resident David Henslick. Investigators allege Henslick's shooting was in retaliation for his testimony against Lucero's father and 2 others in 2003. Uribe and Lucero used the nicknames Clever and Rascal when they came looking for Henslick, according to witness statements. This morning's hearing relates to the introduction of evidence to be used during the men's trial. Case files. On March 25, 2005, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department's gang unit, in the jurisdiction of the Jurupa Station, consisted of Corporals Martinez, Padilla and Robertson, and Deputy Negrete. On March 25, all 4 members of the gang unit went to Glen Avon to gather information about gunshots that had been fired at a residence during the previous night. The residence was known to Corporals Martinez and Robertson, and Deputy Negrete, as a honji out for a gang known as Mira Loma Dodd Street, and deputies had previously made numerous arrests at the residence. When the corporals and deputy arrived at the residence, they noticed defendant and another man outside the house. Defendant was working in the yard, using a weed eater to cut weeds. The corporals and the deputy exited their cars and approached the residence. One of the deputies said, "Hey, is it okay if we talk to you?" Corporal Robertson then asked defendant to put the weed eater down. Defendant complied. Deputy Negrete, referring to defendant, said, "That's Indio or hey, Indio." Indio was defendant's nickname. Deputy Negrete recognized defendant as a Dodd Street gang member who, at the time, had 2 active felony warrants for his arrest. Defendant denied that he was known as Indio. Corporal Martinez told defendant to put his hands behind his back. Defendant walked away towards the residence. Corporal Martinez attempted to grab defendant's arms and place them behind his back, but defendant began running towards the house. Corporal Martinez then grabbed defendant and pushed him to the ground. Once defendant was on the ground, Corporals Martinez and Robertson, and Deputy Negrete, tried to place defendant's arms behind his back, but defendant was flailing his arms and trying to pull his arms forward, underneath his body. The officers told defendant to stop resisting and place his hands behind his back. After approximately 30 seconds, the officers gained control of defendant's arms. During the struggle, the other man who had been in the yard ran away. Corporal Robertson walked defendant towards the sheriff's car. Defendant complained of pain in his wrist and asked the corporal to let go of him. The corporal refused because defendant had tried to escape. After Corporal Robertson unlocked the door to the car, defendant began to pull away from the corporal's grasp, as if to run. Corporal Robertson forced defendant to the ground and defendant rolled onto his back. Defendant tried to kick Corporal Robertson. Deputy Corey came to assist Corporal Robertson, and defendant tried to kick him as well. After 1 or 2 minutes, Corporal Robertson and Deputy Corey were able to place defendant in the sheriff's car. Defendant was not searched prior to being placed in the car. The officers requested that a medical unit examine defendant. While waiting for the medical team to arrive, defendant was taken out of the sheriff's vehicle. Corporal Robertson searched defendant before the medical personnel arrived, and found a substance that was similar to salt in one of defendant's shirt pockets. Corporal Robertson also searched underneath the back seat of the vehicle. Under the back seat, the corporal found a knife, a clear plastic baggie that contained a white crystalline substance that appeared to be methamphetamine, and 2 pipes that could be used for smoking methamphetamine. Corporal Robertson had removed the back seat of the vehicle and checked the car when he began his shift that day. Deputy Negrete, who was Corporal Robertson's partner, did not see anything in the area of the back seat when the car was checked at the beginning of the shift. Defendant was the first person Corporal Robertson arrested during his shift. At one point, Corporal Padilla tried to place leg shackles on defendant, but had a difficult time due to the large rubber boots defendant was wearing. Defendant said to cut off the boots. Corporal Robertson told defendant he did not have any scissors. Defendant said, "I used to have a knife." The crystalline substance tested positive for 0.14 grams of methamphetamine. Corporal Robertson opined that the salt-like substance from defendant's shirt pocket would be added to methamphetamine to increase the quantity for sale. Evidence related to the gang conviction will be presented in the following section, in order to avoid repetition.